Ciao ragazzi, my name is Anthony. Welcome back to Inter Worldwide. It's been a minute. I got a little bit of World Cup fever, but not in the good way, because it means I've been accidentally / intentionally neglecting this awesome channel and the amazing community here at Inter Worldwide. So it's time for some content. It's time for a video, and you know what? We're still at the back end of November, meaning it's going to be a little bit of time before we see our beloved Inter once again. But take with it whatever you want to take with it. I know I'm one of the fans that can sometimes use a little bit of a break from this club. But something I really wanted to talk about, and what we're going to talk about today, is with our manager Simone Inzaghi still being very much up in the air of whether or not he's the right one for the club, of whether or not he's the right one to have a long stint, or is he still going to be seen as someone as a stopgap. What's going to be all important is how he finishes this campaign. And that means it's going to be really not easy to identify, but we know what needs to happen in terms of being able to judge him and make that judgment call. And that stands for all sectors. The fans will judge, the administration, the board, management, ownership, whether or not it's new ownership. And we're going to run through them right here, right now. So first things first, please like the video, subscribe if you are new, leave a comment and let me know if you are new and where you are from, and consider signing up to be one of our channel members. So without further ado, let's get the show on the road. How will Inzaghi be judged for the remainder of the season? I encourage you guys to comment at the bottom and let me know what you think, because my opinions might not be the one of the majority. It might not be yours. So let's run through it step by step. So performances in big league games. We started off the season very poorly in Serie A because we copped L's in the derby. My God, wasn't that a horrible loss to take? We lost against Roma after leading, and we lost against Lazio as well. It was not ideal. Those are three big matches, and we also lost the Derby d'Italia against Juve. Basically, it took us going to Bergamo to beat Atalanta 3-2 away for us to register that first big domestic win of the season. So by no doubt, Simone Inzaghi is going to have to improve his performances in the big matches leading into the back end of the calendar year. We've still got 2 games against Napoli. We've got, obviously, the derby against Milan and against Juve, which will both be home games. We get to play Lazio at home as well, and Roma, I believe, as well at home. It's going to be important for Inzaghi and important to Inter to showcase that they are still one of the big fish in Serie A. Performances in the big games are also going to have to be wins, not draws. As I said, we've already taken L's against Milan, against Roma, Lazio, and Juve. The only way to really negate those performances and those results are to completely flip them on their head and to transfer those into wins. Secondly, something that Inzaghi is quite famous for doing well in, our domestic cup results. You can see him here pictured with one of our domestic cups, and he won 2 last season, the Supercoppa and the Coppa Italia final. I dare say that Supercoppa match against Milan in Saudi Arabia, I think it is actually starting to look like a really important fixture for his career, for his season, and of course his career. Winning another trophy, especially against our cross-city rivals, would go a long way for Inzaghi and his season. Let me know in the comments below how much you value this Supercoppa. Do you value it more because it will come at the expense of beating Milan in a derby? Do you value it more knowing that it's already, November, and realistically we can't really put ourselves in a Scudetto race? I'm very keen to hear your comments. Let me know. Another thing that Inzaghi will be judged upon is his attitude towards the club, which includes the fans, players, staff, and the media. He is a reactionary sort of guy, but not as reactionary as the likes of Antonio Conte, but still, he does have a little bit of a hothead. How he reacts, especially if times continue to be a little bit turbulent, to the fans, his attitude towards his players, staff, and his reactions in press conferences, both pre and post, are going to be an important part of him building his overall character and maintaining a healthy relationship with the club. The next point I want to talk about is his big player man management. Now, this is a guy that would have had to obviously approve the signing of Romelu Lukaku over the likes of Paulo Dybala. He's really going to have to manage the bigger names in this side leading into the back end of the season. Now, we all saw what happened in the locker room at the start of the season. The players had to basically come together and take responsibility for their performances. It didn't feel like Inzaghi's presence was strong. It didn't feel like that he was able to evoke that fear of failure in his players the same way the gentleman Antonio Conte on the screen was able to do. I think being able to manage the big players on this side, like your Lukaku's, Skriniar's, Brozovic, Barellas, Bastonis, Toros, leading into the back end of the 22-23 campaign are going to be imperative to building a strong run and finish towards the end of the season as well. What will happen if we potentially do have a new takeover or ownership? Where there is smoke, there is usually fire, and there's been a smoke for a long time. However, I think we are starting to enter that stage where Steven Zhang and the Suning regime are reluctantly going to give up ownership of this club. Whether it is still in this season or whether it is after this season, I'm not too sure. But one thing's for sure, we'll start to get our definitive response before the season is over. And if that's the case, what will Simone Inzaghi's relationship be with the board? How will it change before the season ends? Will it be an obvious relationship that's burned? Or will he work overtime to make sure he is still a yes man in the eyes of Steven and Suning? Interesting stuff there. Consistency. Pictured here with a Coach of the Month award. I forget what month it was. It was for last season, that's for sure. But Simone Inzaghi is going to have to be more consistent in the league. We had a bad start domestically. We've had a couple of slip-ups since then. He's going to have to be a manager when the World Cup ends that, puts together 3, 4, 5 wins in a row. If it gets broken up by one draw, it doesn't matter. You have to go and win the next 3, 4, 5 again. We need wins, lots of them. We need to be very, very consistent in Serie A from the time we get back from the World Cup. Of course, things like injuries are going to come into play, but there really should be no excuses. We had a tough fixture list at the start of the season in terms of away trips. As I said in the previous slide, we need to turn those into wins. And the key word starting with a C there is consistency. Squad rotation will be another thing as well. Now, his in-game man management has been has come under a lot of criticism, and rightfully so. We have had many matches where we have turned leads into losses or leads into drop points. There was at one point where we had the highest amount of points dropped from the time that we were in front. Pictured here is Aslani as well. We know the likes of Bellanova and Correa have not been coming in to get as much time and as much form, but he needs to be rotating regularly for the competitions that we've got. We have a Coppa Italia fixture against Parma, we have our league, and we have our round of 16 tie against Porto. We've got the depth in midfield on the bench to be able to rotate a little bit more freely, and we've been doing it without Marcelo Brozovic. With Brozovic coming back, the likes of Mkhitaryan and Aslani should be able to share the load just that little bit more. Let me know in the comments below what you think about that. Now, this is an important one. We did not get drawn the toughest of sides. There is no such thing as an easy round of 16 fixture, but at the same time, I'm sure most of us, including myself, would have taken a Porto over a Manchester City, over a Real Madrid, and I think that that's just a fact. It's not going to be easy going to the Dragon Stadium, but if Simone Inzaghi can get through Porto in 2 legs and get us to the quarterfinals, well, what a way to boost your judgment. What a way to boost your stake, to stake your claim that you are the right manager post 22-23 to go on again. Are we going to win the Champions League? No. Are we going to make the final? Probably not. But making it to the quarterfinals and putting Inter on that map just that little bit extra, the quarterfinals would be our deepest run in the competition since 11-12. I actually think it's at the top of his priority list to get through FC Porto. I like this one here. Who do we finish above? You've got 7 managers on the screen there, coaching 7 different really good clubs. Serie A is the most competitive I've seen it since I was a teenager, and that's just a fact. It's no shame finishing underneath this Napoli side and this Spalletti side, considering the start that they've had. We've already finished under Pioli, but I dare say, Simone, you can't finish less than 3rd. You can't finish under Allegri after the start he had and the type of football he plays. You can't finish under Sarri or Mourinho or Gasperini because they all coach clubs that are deemed smaller than us, less ambitious than us. I'm setting the bar high here. Simone Inzaghi needs to know that you can't finish lower than 3rd this season, or else it's considered a catastrophic failure. Some might say finishing 3rd is a failure enough on its own. Overall, guys, we will know. We will know at the end of the season, looking back at the results, the stats, the subjective and the objective information available to us, whether or not Simone Inzaghi has done a good job. It goes back to every point made in this video on all the different slides. And I really want to know below what you guys think are the most important factors that will come into play judging our manager. Do you think it's getting a domestic trophy? Do you think it's making it to the quarterfinals? Do you think it's finishing second in Serie A and still finishing above the likes of Pioli, Allegri, Mourinho, Sarri in a tough season, where at the very least he'll stick his hand up and go, I finished second in Serie A and I made the quarterfinals of the Champions League. What did you guys do? He needs to go to the bargaining table and he needs to know that he has a voice at the end of this season to stake his claim that it was a successful one. I'm skeptical, but I haven't completely lost faith and I haven't completely lost hope. Guys, I hope you really enjoyed today's video. There will be some more content coming out throughout the World Cup, including a link up or two. As I said, if you haven't already, like the video, subscribe if you are new. My name is Anthony. Thank you very much for watching. Forza Inter Worldwide. Ciao.